that character was gone. And now I had to look in the mirror and say, well, who am I now? Or who do I want to be? And I was in that predicament.
Hi, my name is Zenka Caro, and I'm founder of LightNet. And my passion and purpose is helping people do impossible things. Today, we're here with Keith Mitchell. He was a former NFL football star and had a terrible accident and found himself reinventing his entire life from the beginning. He is now founder of the Light It Up Foundation, and he teaches mindfulness and yoga and healing all over the world at retreats. And he has many different programs that are changing the way we think about our breath and about our healing and about doing the impossible. Check this out.
Well, my experience is one of my main big experiences. I made plenty of mistakes, right? Or mistakes, as my teacher would say, mistakes, because we didn't have the insight prior. We just did what we knew to do. And it was through the gridiron playing sports. It was the low hanging fruit. Teacher asked me, where do I see myself in 10 years? And I saw sports as an opportunity. But basically, I was just a kid who was trying to find my way, trying to be accepted in my communities, trying to be liked by the people I wanted to be liked by, and make people proud that I wanted to, them to be proud. And football was a way that I felt I could do that. I saw the way that the sports figures were treated in the community and looked at and revered, and I wanted to be that. And I put all my attention, this weekend we've been talking about where energy flows, where your attention flows, energy goes. And I put all my attention into this character, this persona, and I lived the experience. And ultimately it came to an end. You can't play the game forever. It has limitations. It has consequences. And on this particular day, my 7th season playing, I made a tackle I had made so many times in my life, from high school, college, pros, and I ended up on my back. And in this particular place, I lost all movement. And, and through that, I was diagnosed with a spinal contusion. And my whole life that I had invested into this character was gone. And all I had known myself to be, all I had known myself to do is be this sports person. And that character was gone. And now I had to look in the mirror and say, well, who am I now? Or who do I want to be? And I was in that predicament. And luckily for me, or ironically for me, I found yoga, which yoga is Jungian. I found myself. What have I discovered my purpose to be? Well, I'm learning daily, and I get challenged daily. However, I feel the life experience I lived, begin to see things that I experienced that I had questions about. Even I dove into them. I made the decisions that created pain and disorder. And I see others doing the same thing. I see others doing it or on their way to doing it. I feel the opportunity of going through experiences is to share it with others so they don't have to hit that same brick wall that we hit. I feel the human is the medicine. I've learned that. And we are to have the experiences for whatever reason. And by having those experiences, we are to ultimately help others avoid them so we can create the evolution of humanity. Well, I feel what I'm doing now feeds my soul. The amount of people, because I was, stadium, you have hundreds of thousands of people, millions watching, all that attention, all that rush. But it's a distance, it's a disconnect. It's kind of like when you tour and you got the security and everyone's kept like at bay. Here, And in this space, I get to have the one-on-one. I get to look in each other's eyes, and I get to share insight and see and help them move from one space to another. I get to see them heal in some cases. I get to see them evolve in some cases. I get to have that interaction, and that's so nurturing that you can't put a dollar amount onto that. And it gives me the fuel to keep going and to realize, well, what's more, what's next, and how else can I be of service? How did I figure out what's next? I think the compelling insight of breathing. I talked about, while in the hospital, the nurse talking to me about breathing and really conceptualizing, what breathing does, the capacity of breathing. That really clicked for me. It was a way, like, in a sense of being an athlete my whole life. It's like, why have I never thought about that? And it stuck with me. What else is there? And then realizing that, oh, now I have a tool to combat the situation that I'm in. Wow, what can I do with that? And the opportunity I couldn't avoid, I was in it. I was in the middle of it. Well, this is the perfect opportunity. This is the only opportunity. I don't have time to negotiate it, look at the stats, the data. I just have that. And I must do it now. Well, she told me, she's like, do you know what happens when you breathe? She says, on the inhale, the diaphragm pushes down. On the exhale, it pushes up. She told me that when we breathe a shallow breath, well, the heart, the lungs, they don't need your help. But what becomes stagnant is the internal organs. And then she told me, or I found out, that the liver controls anger. The kidney controls fear. The intestines is worry. I was like, wow, this is a whole dynamic that I didn't even understand. So now you can go into pH balance, and really what air and pH levels is. It's a processing mechanism. So now I can process the moment, right? And now through the practice of processing the moment, I begin to build an emotional maturity around the situations or any situations that I'm dealing with. So now I can make a more constructive choice. And that's a powerful tool to have as a human. Yeah, it's a formula. You build your character, like I mentioned earlier, mastery comes through repetition. And it's not just doing it because to do it, is how can I be more efficient? How can I be better? How can I be a master at what I'm doing? And in life, I feel we have the opportunity to be here for what? We have problems. Well, we learn to solve it. We learn to evolve with it. We learn to take advantage of this opportunity of being in nature, learning how the medicines, how the universe, if you believe in the higher power that's presented things from the medicines on the planet to take advantage of. And I begin to follow that lead and be a student and learn. Well, the biggest struggle is when you get into going against the norm, going the opposite of the herd. You're speaking English, but you might as well speak a foreign language because a lot of people are not going to get it. You begin to disrupt the notion of conditioning. You begin to realize how we've gained the information that we hold on to. We call it belief, we call it faith even. And when you get to the bottom of it, it's just because someone told you so. And so what is your truth? This is why we talk about speak your truth. What is your truth? And a lot of people don't have that truth. And this is why they lack the confidence, because they have questions about what they've been told, but they're not sure or they're not really gone or been bold enough to go down the tunnel of questioning it or realizing maybe a different way. So they lack the confidence. And so I begin to be the student, and I begin to look at the world as an opportunity to learn. And from nutrition, from everything that I have a desire to do, whether it be relationships, I begin to put formulas together to realize and search out masters who have presented themselves as such, and be the student and learn from them and learn from my own mistakes and put it together. And I've seen myself grow tremendously. And again, I still make mistakes, but I feel myself still progressing in a way that I feel I would have never progressed as such. Well, living in my purpose and what that's done to the people around me, it causes an effect. It's like a ripple. It makes them shift. It makes them see themselves in different ways. It makes them uncomfortable sometimes, you know. It makes them to even respect you in a different way. You're not even asking for it. It's like people, they begin to notice things, they feel things. It's not like you're putting on a facade up front to like, you know, it's just they feel that, they see that. You know, it's beyond a facade or something that you say. It's a presence. And when you come in with that presence, I think the world, the people, it shifts. The energy makes things shift. I felt it with teachers that I've had. I felt it. I see it. And I've seen it in my life. And I'm not professing to be any but I see it. I feel for people who haven't found their purpose, I feel it takes some real question and answering. And you have to be unapologetically with your answers. You cannot make excuses. You can't run away from the hard questions you must ask yourself. And when you speak your truth to yourself, then it begins to present the path that you must take. So it's like a thing where, when people can speak it, think it, know it, and how you get to that space. The medicine that's presented, it starts with the diet and what we consume. There's a real thing, in my opinion. I don't know if it's really as public or in the open as much when you talk about high blood pressure and how that affects the mind, decision making. You talk about diabetes, you talk about all these dis-ease that we have in our society. Well, it affects the way that we think. It affects our interaction, our engagement with people. It affects how we perceive ourselves. So it's kind of like when the doctor says, take this and then come back in 2 weeks and let's see how you are. We have to create a palette for ourselves to take and be open to the positive information that's going to allow us to heal and have the mindset to have a palette also to take in new insight about ourselves and what we're choosing and wanting to do. I'm a big advocate of if you believe in something, we'll challenge it. And if this is my dharma, if this is my purpose, well, the universe will support it. And through that, we begin to magnetize the things that I need, the contacts, the relationships. And I've seen it work and I'm trusting it. It concerns me that, people in the spiritual sense, they can talk to you about every aspect of your life, but the things that we're dealing with in the day-to-day, they're hands off. And I don't understand that. I feel we need that in that space the most. I think there's a lot of confusion there, and I feel we can level up that opportunity there to put our voices there, like Marianne Williamson. I love what she's doing. Even Robert Kennedy, I feel he's gotten a little bit of that juice from the community in West LA as well. So I love those two individuals who are stepping into those roles because we have to do more. We can't avoid those areas. They affect us. We can't create these kumbayas and think everything's going to be okay because ultimately it's going to invade us at some point. So we got to get involved. And those are social injustices. Those are wherever we are flawed in our system, we have to step in and represent. And that's what I'm seeing I'm called to do now. So the work that I do an array of work. Dr. Sebi was my teacher in nutrition. So in my healing, I began to migrate to Honduras. I've been there 17 times. And he was my teacher. I learned in the Amazon. I learned the indigenous way of eating and how to nourish my body. So I share that from that perspective. So I have a detoxing retreat that I do 7 days, teaching people how to eat, the importance of nutrition. I have an intimacy mastery retreat that I do from a standpoint of how do we take the meditation that we learn, how do we integrate that? How do we have the challenging conversations? How do we show up in the world as the masculine, as the feminine? We put that dynamic to a test to learn, because where else are we going to learn? So those are projects. I have a book project, the Mindfulness Playbook, that's coming out, and it's an actual playbook of how I'll give examples of how I found my way. And it's not that you have to go exactly like I did, but it can give you an example, insight to what I was thinking, and how you can play it and put it in your playbook to initiate your transformation. So that's another way. And I'm all about creative ways of doing it differently, and as well, because I with On the Hill, we worked with Congressman Tim Ryan. We created the Congressional Yoga Association when Barack was under Obama. Former President Obama was in office. And Tim Ryan is an amazing friend of mine. Yogi, too. Can you believe it? Yeah, Congressman, Ohio. I was on the Hill a lot. Charles Rangel. We would do stuff with the kids in Harlem, just showing and showcasing a different effect, instead of saying, coming to the schools and talking about sports where 0.01% make it. I feel there's another opportunity. I'm not trying to take anyone from an opportunity to play the game, but at the same time, I like to create more of a balance. It's not about just playing a sport to go pro. It's about being an influential person, a positive person in society. And what I mean by a positive person, the person who's developing themselves to grow, to help us solve problems in our world. That's the only way that we're going to advance humanity, is we have to develop ourselves as human. I call it universal man, universal woman, to be the ones to step into those roles, to make the changes we want to see.